Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. So happy to connect with you again, whether live or on the replay. And also very, very excited that Jamye Price is back on the show. She's joined us many times before throughout the years, since I think the beginning, also the second season of the show. And yeah, my first experience with her was through her light language audios that I listened to before starting doing interviews with her, and really I really felt the connection from the first time I listened to them, and it was really profound, very powerful energies, and very healing and deep connection that I really felt. And every time she comes to the show, we always have very, very powerful energies that we experience, and inspirations through the guidance that she shares with us. So yeah, very, very excited that she's back. And for those of you who are new to her, she is the author of Opening to Light Language and the Cosmic Consciousness Ascension Deck. And she is an energy healer, channeler, and or channel and teacher. And today's subject is becoming a divine human being. And so she will be sharing about that. She will be sharing about like what our experience and currently energetically as humanity, because we are evolving into a place where we are called to embody our wholeness, and also bring more balance and peace into the way we react or we interact with life in general, and with others. So it's like sometimes it can be challenging when we are letting go of the old ways of being and creating, especially when the new we are not used to it, and it's still unknown for us. So we can experience some kind of like unbalance, and so yeah, there is so much potential for us to embody, but it's like the guidance today is more about finding the way to embody our wholeness and our divinity as humans, and create the new, if we may call it the new timeline, or the new way of being from that state of being. So yeah, it will be very powerful. And also we'll have a Q&A later on the call. So as always, if you want to ask your question, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand if you are on Zoom. If you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, so with that, Jamye, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you with us today.
Happy to be here. It's good. It's a good time for all of this, because things are definitely intensifying, and that's when change is occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, maybe in the beginning, I would love if you can tell us briefly about yourself and your work.
Great. So I always like to point out for people that I did not have a psychic childhood. I wasn't consciously psychic. I was very sensitive, but I was not psychic in any way that I could account for. And my opening actually occurred over many years, but it came in different stages, where it started out with things that were random and I could not repeat, like I couldn't make them happen, but they were things that would be proven within a short period of time. And then over time, that kind of thing began to happen more often, and more of my psychic senses came online, to the point where in the mid-90s, I finally was recognizing that my guides were talking to me. So my opening occurred over that long time frame. And one of the things that was very important for my path was energy healing, because they would teach me about energy healing and some of the different concepts, and finally taught me how to heal myself. And as that was occurring, I just ultimately became obsessed. The fact that we could do things that I didn't even know were possible, from psychic senses to energy healing, was my complete obsession and new path. And in the early 2000s, light language began opening up for me. But by that point, my guides had already been teaching me how to do healing. I was working on clients and friends and family, and the light language came in very silently because I would just have people on the table with their eyes closed. And it started out just with signing, which was wonderful because that was not embarrassing since their eyes were closed. And then when the sound wanted to start pushing through, that took me a long time to deal with because it was not popular or known back at the time. And I had to just work through all of my fears around sharing something that I enjoyed experiencing in the context of an energy healing session. But once I kind of pushed through that, of course, I realized that all of those fears and judgments were mostly within me. And then the tiny percentage that was coming from the outside, by the time that would occur, I was already at a point where I could deal with it. So that whole process was much longer than I would have liked for it to be, but I'm glad that it occurred in the way that it did, because sharing that experience and kind of moving through all of those fears is really indicative of what we do on a small scale with our healing process overall. And of course, now so many people are opening to not only light language, which is an externalized form of healing, but all kinds of energy healing modalities that are tuning us into the subtle realm. And as we become more attuned to honoring the subtle senses and learning the nuances of how to work with them and how they're different from the physical realm, then we just keep opening up to what I call our ascension, which is just a natural evolution into ultimately our divine human being, this natural biomechanism that is meant to operate within the physical realm of linear time, the experience of separation, but also operate consciously in the subtle realm, the connectedness, the timelessness, the quantum that isn't as solidified, it's much more malleable. So these are actually really exciting times. And all of the work that I've been interested in for so long is really at such an expansive point now, because so many people are waking up. So many people are having natural intuitive experiences, or at least wanting to find more purpose and more depth of connection in their own lives. So that is my short history in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And I really love that you mentioned the subtle aspects of our awakening journey. Like once we start becoming aware, we become aware of those subtle energies or aspects. It's there where we go deeper into our awakening. Because also we are used to, how to say, maybe our fears, traumas, or things happen in the world or distractions. We are used to them being very loud. And sometimes, like when we approach the subtleties of our being, how to say, maybe in the beginning we can feel that it's not important because it's not as loud as what we are seeing in the world. But yeah, once we start walking that path, it's like it's like they become enhanced or something like that. We become like more aware, or we feel them much more. So yeah.
And yeah, if I could add to that, that is by beautiful design also, because it calls us to a path rather than, oh, this is just the path everybody takes, or this is obvious. It calls us within, and we have to find that quiet whisper within. We have to find that subtle and silent connection to the self and life. And so I love the way that you framed that it is like a whisper, because otherwise we would just naturally be going down that path and we wouldn't have that discovery. And that's part of the benefit of the linear realm, the physical realm, is we move through experiences so they become a discovery. And that creates the deep change, the real change.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, what will be your advice when we are in that situation when there is still the old way of being, like still very loud, and we want to connect to those aspects of ourselves? How can we approach that?
Mm. So it is about finding that quiet voice within. And especially when there's a lot of chaos around us, or if there is a lot of rigidity, or things should be this way, or you should do these things, all of that can be so loud, as you put it. So having that quiet time to tune in to that subtle voice is the time of connecting into that broader perspective. So rather than just what's in the known factor, you get to touch the unknown and attune yourself more to the broader way of being. So, most of these ways we are very familiar with. They're simpler than we might expect, but that doesn't mean it's always easy. And I like to have what I call a lot of different go tos, like different things that I could choose from, because some moments it's going to be so easy to just get quiet and connect, or go out in nature and feel that shift. Other times, you're just not going to be able to get there in that same way. And so you need something different. So I have a lot of things that I use when it's easy to get into those quiet moments. So getting out in nature, obviously one. Meditation is another one. Journaling is another one that is great for tapping into those subtle moments, that subtle voice. And then I need some also that are a little more active, or that might be a little bit more about release, or getting myself past something so that I then can tune in more easily. So some of those might be a little more dramatically towards the release cycle, or some of them might just be a little bit more towards the distraction cycle or the movement cycle, so that I can move past something. So that might be something like walking in nature, or connecting with a friend, something that is softening some of my energy, like listening to funny things, or watching funny things, a funny movie or a comedian, something like that. Reading a book that you enjoy. And then others might be a little more intense, like dancing or exercising or movement. And even having things that I like to go to when I feel like there's a lot of emotion that needs to move. So maybe I have music that always makes me happy and joyous, or I have music that helps me to cry if I can't quite get to that release point myself, or I have music that makes me get a little more directed or focused. Sometimes it might be like letting anger out, or something that is a little more energizing. Things that we can go to that help to get us into a place where it's easier to get quiet, it's easier to meditate. And when I find something that works for me, I make a note of that, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to remember that this works for me in these certain kinds of situations, because it's not going to work every single time, every single day. So anything that can help me to get quiet, to be able to tune in. And then sometimes I recognize that I need to focus a little bit more on either movement or things that will help me release a state, so that then I can get into the quieter states.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And I really love how you described that, because when you were talking about maybe emotions like anger or sadness, so we didn't feel that it's something wrong. It brings a message. There is energy that needs to be released, and that's all. It's because many times we think that we shouldn't feel that way, especially if we've been uh, in our spiritual journey like for a long time. and then we start judging ourselves when something like that happens. But it's part of our human nature.
Absolutely. And to have ways that we can deal with any of those emotions in a healthy structure is really important. Anything that remains unprocessed, it can either just take longer to process through if we don't have that interaction with it, or it can remain suppressed and then kind of build up and into other things. So, finding ways to process any emotion in a healthy way is really necessary. We can express anger in very positive ways because if every emotion has aspects of it that are positive and negative in the linear realm of duality. So, anger in its positive sense can really help direct us into movement or action because it's an indicator for us that there's something that we're experiencing that is making us feel powerless, or it's calling us to hold healthy boundaries. So finding ways to interact with any emotion that you might be feeling is really important. And especially when you can sustain that neutral perspective, that's when it gets easiest. For example, I can remember a time where I was feeling very depressed. Like I just didn't have any kind of motivation. I didn't have a direct thing that was like, well, of course I'm depressed. I'm going through a mourning process or anything like that. There wasn't a rhyme or a reason to it. And this was back when I was working at corporate, but I was already on my path and I could hardly get my work done. And finally, I was like, well, I can't identify what this is. So maybe I don't need to know why I'm depressed. I know how this goes. I'm going to feel this for a little bit, and eventually this too shall pass. So essentially, I just surrendered into it. And because I was so neutral to the process and I wasn't trying to fix it or I wasn't trying to define it when it wasn't naturally flowing, that surrender of like, okay, this too shall pass. I'm just going to feel this way until I don't feel this way. And if there's ever a time I need to know something about it, that will come up. I'm open to that information. And probably within an hour or two, it passed. And then I was like, oh, wow, I surrendered into it. And it eventually neutralized probably in a much quicker way than it would have because I had already been feeling that way for the previous day at work. So just getting that neutrality is such a powerful catalyst. And sometimes that's just the self soothing talk of, okay, I'm feeling this way. It's perfectly fine for me to feel this way. It's just an emotion. It's indicating that something is moving. So I surrender. This is how I feel right now. And then that naturally starts that movement because that's the realm that we're in. Everything changes in the realm of linear time. And that neutrality helps that process because then you're not polarizing one way or the other. And that neutrality is what opens you up to that new more easily.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Surrender is really powerful way to approach that. Thank you very much for sharing that. And also, as we've been talking about that, and also during this time, we're feeling that it's like the energies are supporting the embodiment of our divinity and our true power more, and we feel our potential many times, like very present. And also at the same time, it's like we are moving to that state of being and back toward more maybe dance experiences. It's like back and forth. Is that something normal to be experienced during this time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always relate all change that we go through to changing like a season does. You know, when you go from winter to spring, it goes back and forth. And it's not quite spring yet, but you have some of those spring days, and then you start to see the little leaves coming up, and then it gets really cold. And so it goes back and forth for a while until eventually it's dominant that it's in that new season and you no longer have the effects of winter. So that's how our change always is. It is back and forth. And we get kind of unconsciously accustomed to sometimes having these marker points, like it's Monday, it's not Friday, now it's Saturday, it's not Monday, or there's a graduation ceremony, that's when high school is over. But you notice that even though that graduation ceremony happened, for example, it's part of that change, but it's not like everything is 100% different because the graduation has occurred. There's still a back and forth where you're still feeling some of the old energy, and then you're also feeling some of the new energy. So, what we're doing is, because we are focused on the subtle realm in addition to the physical realm, we are straddling both worlds in that we are sometimes very aware of the subtle energies and the potentials, the things that are building but that have not quite fully manifested into physical yet. And so our part of our work is to maintain a conscious connection with that in various ways. Sometimes that means focusing on it. Sometimes that also means knowing that it's there, but neutralizing to it and being deeply in the present moment. So, as we're integrating that subtle focus, we can also become very aware of the differences. And whenever you go through these changes, the things that are more dense can become more obvious. The things that need change because their structures aren't sustainable become more obvious. And it's easy sometimes, because we deal so much in the subtle realm, to lose hope or focus or that knowingness, because you can see so much of that density. It's the one that's obvious to the physical senses. It's the loud one, as you so brilliantly said. So blending those two and knowing that this is the process of change, and then focus your energy and relax and surrender, be in the present moment, live that duality in a way of neutrality, because that's what truly connects the opposites, whether that's the positive proton and the negative electron, or the density, or the new way, what is and what the potentials are. That's our work, is to stay in that neutrality, because we're acutely aware of both, and they will always have that back and forth until there's a predominance of a certain energy. And this is what we experience all the time in life. It's just that it's not always so pleasant to experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And this is actually it describes mastery, because many times we think mastery is always being in the flow, feeling excited, and so on. But mastery is understanding and knowing how to approach the human experience while bringing in our light, our divine aspects. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Really having that foundational strength, so that the negatives, the opposites, the old way, the density, whatever ways you want to call those, you aren't resistant to those. Those are just a natural process of life, just like change is natural. And that's the mastery. And that's something that is, I find, far more prevalent, and even why we focus on being the embodiment, the wholeness, the divinity, and the human experience, is because without that foundation of strength and willingness to observe the negatives, the opposites, the old, the density, you're in a pattern of avoidance. Oh, this is the only thing that's right. This is the only thing that's good. This is the only thing that I focus on, when the mastery is honoring what the human experience is, honoring this physical realm of duality.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I have one more question: is maybe if you have an advice on how can we approach the unknown, especially when it comes to embodying our true self, our true power, because we already have ideas that we've built about ourselves from past experiences, and most of them, they don't describe who we truly are. And when we are embodying our divinity, our truth, it feels like it's something that is unknown, and also the mind can't understand yet. So how can we deal with that?
Beautiful question. So a good way to think about it is from the viewpoint of our chakra system, that whenever we're dealing with an unknown, we could call that different words as well. We could call it change. We could call it potential. We could look at it from the physical perspective and go, well, it's not here, so it's not even a guarantee. So when you look at it from the chakras, then it kind of gives you a pathway of how to deal with the unknown. And that first chakra is all about our safety. It's about our physical needs being met. And that is the foundation upon which everything is built. Now, we know that safety is not something that always looks the same in every single situation. There are things that are very direct with the physical, like we need air to breathe in order to stay alive. That's part of our safety. But there are things that we apply to that that are more about mental or emotional projections. So, establishing our safety first and foremost is helpful in dealing with the unknowns. So, again, that might be that self talk that I was talking about, where when something is unknown, when something feels very important and you're not sure if you could manifest it, work with some of that safety and get yourself into a state of feeling more neutral toward the unknown, toward any changes, toward any lack of guarantees around something. So soothing self-talk like, I'm safe in this moment. I'm safe even if I don't manifest that exact thing, because I'm the universe in human form. And so life is trying to help me all along my path. So anything that can help you establish that safety, that's that first chakra foundation. Then our second chakra deals with relating out to the world or connecting with others, connecting with life. So looking at the viewpoint of how would I need to connect if I wanted to experience this unknown? What kind of changes could I make? What kind of fears or any resistance do I feel coming up around those changes? Do I feel excited about that connection? So, how can I work my way into a perspective of more excitement with relating out to the world as that unknown or connected to that unknown? Then looking at the third chakra is our will, it's our courage, it's our identity, it's how we direct our unique path in the physical realm. So we might look at actions or things that we would uh, experience that would shift how we were identifying, how we were experiencing life in physical form. And those three chakras deal mostly with the physical realm, the density, the linear time, the separation, the uniqueness that we experience. And that is a valuable part of the physical experience. And then we go to the heart chakra, which is all about connection of both worlds, connecting the density to the non-density, or the physical to the subtle, or the earthly to the divine. All of those connective energies are with the heart. This is our infinite nature. So we might deal with things like, what would I love to experience with that unknown? How would that be bridging more of the subtle or the divine into the physical? What kinds of experiences would be bridging those two? So we look at that, the fourth chakra, as connection. And then, of course, the fifth chakra, this is a big one for people, because not only is this about expressing the self, the things we say, the things that we don't say, it's the chakra of destiny. It's the chakra of manifestation. It's how we bring something into the physical world or how we bring the physical world into us. So even your hands are part of the throat chakra. It's all about creation and using that divine expression to create in the physical realm. So from there, we would think about, how do I want to express in connection to that unknown? How would I change? What kinds of things would manifest? How would that unknown shift what I'm receiving and what I'm emanating out? So looking at that, the throat chakra is an important one, especially because we tend to suppress our connection, our expression so much. But think of that sometimes in much broader terms of expressing the self into the physical realm. Then we move to the third eye, where we are using that imagination of the potentials. We're using the subtle to start to bridge a path for the heart to follow in order to create in the physical realm. So using the imagining, using the sense of what that potential would be like, and making sure to connect that with the emotions, because when you are using that third eye for creating in the future, manifestation, dealing with the unknown or potentials, we are really wanting to use that heart-mind complex, because we don't just think when we are in our wholeness. The thinking creates feeling, the feeling creates thinking. And so using that whole complex is an important one with the imagination, that as those inspirations come in, or as you are instigating the inspirations of the third eye, you are connecting your flow of emotion along with the mental projections. And then, of course, that seventh chakra is all about wholeness. It's all about that connection that we have. And understanding that is an important part of embodying our wholeness. Because when we are here in the physical realm, we have the veil of forgetting. We are small in comparison to everything that's occurring around us from the physical senses. We are one person among billions. We are one person among tens of thousands or millions sometimes, depending on where we live. So that understanding of the connectedness that we are becomes even more important. That we understand that we are experiencing separation, but that we are far more than just the physical body, that we are 99.99999% energy, and this is less than 1% of us, that we are connected to all, we are connected to the cosmos, and we are how the cosmos manifests more life into physical form. So that understanding is an important one as well. So making sure that especially those lower chakras are, they have a good foundation for how you're interacting with the unknown, because that establishes being able to move the subtle into the physical. And then really looking at all of the chakras of the main 7 chakra system for a pathway of how to create the subtle into the physical.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much. I really love your approach to that, like through the seven chakras. And would you like to share maybe something else about the subject before we move to next part of the call?
Yes, just to kind of summarize it just a little bit. Look at some of those main energies, especially of the lower chakras. Am I safe? Work on establishing that safety. Am I connecting outward? Work on establishing some of those connections and how you're going to create in the physical. And then that third chakra, do I feel safe with my identity? Do I have the courage to create change and then nurture that change? Think of it all from the heart nurturing those lower chakras. And that gives you that foundation to easily move forward as you're utilizing the upper chakras to inspire you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And everyone, soon we will start taking questions. So just a reminder that you can ask your question. If you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand. And if you are on the phone, you can press *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And so Jamye, before that, I would love if you can tell us about the program you are offering, which is Being Divine. It's a Divine Human Being series, and which includes different light languages. And I invite everyone to visit the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Jamye, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Jamye, JAMYE. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes. I will put it also on the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. So so Jamye, I would love if you can tell us about this program.
Great. So the overall program is the Divine Human Being series, because this is what we're all here for. It's what we've always been. It's what we've always will be. Well, we'll always be human beings while we're in physical form. We have always been divine, and we will always be divine. But to really embody that here and apply that divinity into the physical realm is what we're working on through experience, and really integrating and anchoring that here. So this is all about creating more balance in our lives. It's all about getting more comfortable with our creativity, with our expression, so that we are whole in our beingness, that we are navigating the physical realm and the linear experience with much more neutrality, much more balance through change, and that we are utilizing that innate divine creative force to not only create in our own lives, but to put our intention into the world. We don't control the world. We don't control with our intention, but really allowing yourself to get your loving intention into the world. This is a really important part of this, because where we tended to deal before, when we were all physically focused, was this is just how things are, and maybe we'll do enough action to change things. And action is still an important part, but utilizing that 99.9% aspect of yourself that is still fully connected, still fully understanding your divinity 100%, using that in the physical realm is what we're here to do. And that's what this particular series is about. So it contains different audio downloads that are teachings about a certain topic. So you'll hear me teaching on that topic. I do healing transmissions throughout. So there's at least 2, usually 3 transmissions in each one, where I'm doing crystalline soul healing and light language to help you integrate and heal around that specific topic. Most of them have little exercises for you to do as well that, again, are simple exercises, but the changes can be really profound. So there's teaching and healing in every single one of these. The first one is unlocking the throat, which is such an important energy for us. Y'all heard me talking about the chakra of manifestation, of destiny. This is why in the Bible it says there was the sound and the sound created the earth. All of that is it's pointing to the importance of the throat chakra, that not only that you're expressing yourself in healthy ways, even in your silence, but that you are manifesting yourself into your life. So unlocking the throat is a big one. The next one is divine expression. This one is fascinating because it has been so helpful to me over the years as I've gone back to this one, because it deals a lot with when do we take those actions? When is it time for the strength to move forward? And how can we do that in myriad types of experiences, but fully with love? And then when is it time for patience? When is it time for inaction? And that is really the divine action of the moment. So, really navigating the duality of this experience. The next one is mental merging, where this deals a lot with how to use your mind, how to navigate the challenges with the mind, which, as Mansef and I started with, these are the perfect opportunities. There's no mistakes. We know we don't have a correct heart and an incorrect mind. It's just a matter of how you're utilizing your mental flow. So that's what this one deals with, that merging of the left brain usage and right brain usage so that we're more whole brained. Then polarity integrated. This one deals with a lot of the physical implications of how we integrate our masculine energetic and our feminine energetic, for example, when to direct our energy, when to allow, how to deal with the inner and the outer, or the self and all of the people around us. So it deals a lot with understanding the polarity that we're experiencing here from the lens of the connection that we're meant to be. Divine wholeness is, of course, bringing all of this together in a way that helps us to interact with life from that integrated wholeness, from that understanding of our divinity and that understanding of the divine human. And then codes of enlightenment. This is a really interesting one that goes through some of how humanity had examples of enlightenment in different ways, like Buddha or Jesus or Muhammad, people that had been through a very dramatic shift. So kind of the old way of enlightenment, which doesn't make it wrong or less than, but how it was understood from the past and how we're approaching that in the present moment. So I really like that. Not only that there was a path left for us that shows us there's many different paths to enlightenment or our divinity, but that we are doing this in a way that's unique to us and applicable into our time frame as well. So that is everything that is in the series. Those are audio downloads, and they all have teaching, healing with crystalline soul healing and light language, and exercises for you to do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jamie, for offering this program. Like you said, it includes really powerful teachings and light language healings through the different audios. And also, I love that it can really go deep into helping us to integrate our wholeness, which we've been talking about today in the call, and also bring in balance through that experience, through that integration that can be expressed in the different areas of our life. So yeah, thank you very much. Always an honor to share your work with our audience here. And yeah, so again, everyone, I highly recommend that you sign up for this program, and you can find it on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Jamie, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Jamie, Jamye. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page, the link also on YouTube video description, and the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, so go ahead.
Could we do a transmission kind of connected to this topic overall? Would
absolutely.
Would that be okay? Okay, good. So what I would like to do is a crystalline soul healing and light language transmission about our wholeness, because this is a really important topic. And it's just a synonym for our divinity, our mastery, our enlightenment, our embodiment. But it's an important topic. And actually, Ariane, the Lyrian Council of Time that I channel last year, they had that as the overall topic of focus because we were going through a lot of things that were calling us to more of our wholeness. And last year felt a little more like a purging year, a shifting year, like doing a lot of the deep inner work that ultimately is preparing us for this year, where this year they're calling the year of the conduit, that we are really embodying that knowingness that life is flowing through us, that we are here to live the human experience as the divine beings that we are. And so our wholeness is part of our divine human beingness. And so what I'd like to do is do a transmission around that topic to help you anchor more of your wholeness. And as I'm doing the frequencies, the crystalline soul healing, that's silent. The light language, I verbalize it and it moves. So you'll see me signing. But both of those modalities always seed to your higher self, that the energy comes in like a quantum packet of potential. And then as it meets your energy field, your connected self, your higher self, the 99.9% subtle part of you, releases and activates based on that topic in a way that's specific for you. So I'm not doing anything to you. The energy is there, the potential is there around this topic that your higher self then releases and activates based on your needs. So as I'm doing that, just see what you notice. And you might have physical sensations that you notice or psychic impressions. You might have thoughts that come up, like memories or something. I haven't thought about that in a while, that kind of thing, or some emotions that surface. So just observe whatever kind of intuitive information you're receiving, because the frequencies are releasing and activating in a unique way for you. And then what I tend to receive is a little bit broader information that's more pertinent to what the group as a whole is releasing. And of course, this is timeless, so it doesn't matter if you're live on the call at the moment or if you're listening to the replay later, you're still affected by those energies in your present moment, but we're in that timeless state, so it's contributing to the whole. Pew, mind blown. It's part of our wholeness. Good. So everyone take a nice relaxing breath and just see what you notice as the frequencies are helping you to embody more of your divine wholeness. Brahukoram Mahrut Amdat Ia Korak Ansharat Sachairet Horet Hal Rideanat Bra Agrayat Sukwa Samwa Samwa Shayand Dam shur mat bdur sakrayandand am jur krail hartum andad san shayarat da hruto hrum saya am duarakai shanora tayit am sukwer mat il janet on san chakrayarot bra harkral arnan san charet daurat ankaim bren hektieret an san shayarumat dul haratian Hamburoratan adsad shayarum, Bral hrakrandat hamnandat ektiaret okua, Krand hatirumat num sachariat kual rakandit im. Tano hurmep tano sum charak ayat ukwal kranda tin ormat no arata inktiert. Imshamanea to Zelra Kand, O Krurtut, O Pro Tanda Hok, Kortum Mat there. None hot sum charakurut, Krutend, Lortut, Suchund, Dag, and that yet. Jamye Tamore Mipes, Unchu. Good. Good. Take another relaxing breath. You can gently rub your hands together. You can rub your hands on your legs to kind of bring you back into a more active brain state. Good. Good. I want to share a little of what I was getting during that transmission. That was really interesting. So, there was a lot of focus of uh, working overall with the mind, how we're thinking, how we're using the left side, the right side, opening up that third eye so that the imagination is expanded. That went on for quite a while. And there was different energies throughout, but sometimes it was more focused on clearing, which was more towards the beginning. But there was a time where there was a lot going on specifically with the left brain so that we could shift how we were dealing with the linearity of this realm. That's what the left brain deals with. So that went on for quite a while. And then there was a lot of healing that was happening with the throat. And I'm only talking about things in general. And this also doesn't mean these were the only things that happened. They were just the things that were standing out to me at the time. So then there was a lot that was going on with the throat chakra and really opening that out, clearing that out. There was a lot also opening up the back of the throat chakra. Whenever I'm seeing things predominantly in the back, I know that that's indicating another level of empowerment because humanity will tend to keep that flow shut down due to fear. And so when that's opening up, we have more of that full flow. And that was occurring with the back of the throat. Then towards the end, there was a lot going on with the heart, and this really strong energy came in and was really working diligently, I will say, to open the heart. And it was so strong that it reminded me of a funny joke that I have with a friend of mine where it's like, open your heart, the absolute opposite of what would actually open someone's heart. And I was like, I thought to myself, that was a real open the heart moment because it was so strong of like really moving energy in the heart. And then right at the very end, I got a very direct translation with the light language. And it was, well, I got a direct translation, but now I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like, "We honor your service." And it came with something larger that was a larger download that's like the understanding of what it's like to be divine in a human experience, that there's so much forgetting here. How many of you can relate to, like, oh, I love this person, or I love this thing, and then we're so critical on ourselves. I shoulda, woulda, coulda, or all kinds of things like that, that it's so easy to forget that divinity sometimes. And there was just so much love flowing at that last end part of like really honoring what we are experiencing here, because we are the universe in human form, like every single being is here. Humans are the universe in animal form, and things like that. But you are here and unique for a reason. That's why I love coming on Monsef's show, because one, as you all know, you're here too. Like, he just has so much heart. But even the whole topic, your divine uniqueness, it's such an important one. That is what we're here to do. You are unique in all of time and space. And so, really honoring that, it takes some effort to fully integrate that from our divinity to our humanity. But that message at the end was so clear. We honor your service. We honor what you're doing. We honor what you're going through, because this is an unusual experience. It's not the whole truth of who we are. We have to remember that part.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie. And yeah, the light language, the process transmission was really powerful. And like you mentioned, at some point, also for me, like the mind was part of the experience, and how it imagines my true self, because many times it tries to get too much into the details. So it's more finding the balance, and having imagination, but more without going in too much details, and trying to control every aspect of that. So
Right.
yeah, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I can relate.
And I want to read some feedback. I lost it. Where is it? Tanya, she wrote, "It was very powerful. I had waves of sadness appearing in my chest and moving away." And Tina, "Thank you. Long, deep yawning several times and still having yawning happening. Grateful for whatever is being released. Beautiful. Thank you for your loving energy." Irieta, "Beautiful and powerful. Lots of yawning. Blessings and love. Sending to you both." Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Uh-oh,
everyone.
yawning. I think I was boring. No, I'm kidding. We all know that yawning is it's a form of release, especially when energy is happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy, that show was a real yawn.
Yeah. Yeah, they are trying to be polite. So.
I'm sure energy was moving. No, it wasn't you. It was energy.
Beautiful. Joshua wrote, my high heart feels a lot lighter." And let's take the first question from Renee. Can you please unmute yourself? Hello, Renee. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm shaking. So there's a lot of energy. There was a lot of energy coming into this call. And I received a great deal during the transmission. There's a lot of trepidation around addressing the amount of fracturing and mind looping that I've been experiencing. So it's, and because I know Jamie through another practitioner, and I've listened to her light language, and I get her newsletters, and I've just recently found you, the two of you felt like an invitation for me to explore this so I could drop whatever it is that's holding all this in place. So I would love some suggestions on how to address the severity of what I'm experiencing in my mind or with my mind.
So there was something that I was shown almost immediately when you started talking, and we'll go into a little more detail with it, but and even why you're experiencing some of that. But I was shown getting out in nature, no music, no nothing, just you and nature, and really utilizing that support for a lot of different reasons. One, for everyone, it is so supportive. When you get out in nature, the trees are working on you, the earth is working on you, the dirt that you're touching, the grass, the everything around you is shifting your energy field. And that connection is very important for us. And so even if it's just little moments at a time, getting out there with just you and nature, and be in that energy to let that support happen, because it will naturally start to calm your mind, because it's also naturally healing you. There's a couple of other layers in there, though, and one thing that they wanted to bring up for everyone to hear, but this is specific for you, Renee, that you are moving a lot more energies than you're even aware of. Like, it's not just you and the things you experienced in your life. There's the things that are connected to your family line, and you're the one that's, I know, please let the tears out, because even as you were talking, I was like, oh, the tears, I'm going to cry the tears. So you are helping your family to heal in ways that won't even be always obvious to you or to them. Some of it will happen in future generations, but you're breaking cycles. And so there's what feels like an intensity to it, because it's bigger than it even seems. And so there's layers and layers of things that you naturally work on that are your own life, your family lines, and broader things beyond that as well, because you're a natural healer. So letting that, the reason they wanted you out in nature specifically, now there's other things that you can do, like connecting with people and talking with people and learning and things like that, that are also going to support this. But nature was such a, well, I'm going to say the word big one for you, because it is so big, and just wants to remind you that you are not alone. You are not doing this alone. Even though it can so feel like that in the physical realm, that if I don't do it, no one will, or if I don't do it, it doesn't get done, or it's all on me. Those things feel so big and so real, but they're not the whole story. And part of you getting out in nature is to feel how big the support for you is. So layers to that, but of course you're feeling this. Of course you're feeling this way, because your body goes, oh my goodness, there's something so big, it's bigger than me. So soothe yourself into that. Of course I'm freaking afraid to do this. Of course these feelings are coming up. That's what the unknown is. That's what the unconscious does. And all I ever have to really do is let the earth help me, just let myself calm, and it will just naturally flow. And of course, sometimes I'm going to take actions. I'm going to receive healing from someone, or join this call that I feel drawn to. Of course, you're going to do those, and those supports will be there as well. But you're a natural healer. So is the earth, and wants to connect with you so that you feel that this is not all on your shoulders, that you are standing on so much support. Whew. Good one, Renee. So please, any questions or comments or anything about that is totally fine.
I deeply appreciate the ability to feel. Feeling was not exactly natural for me.
It was probably dangerous, yeah?
It's just, I didn't come in the way most people did. I was a conduit from the time I remember, but I was so split. And it just felt, there's a story running that says there'll come a time where you can't reverse the damage that was done. I feel damaged. And I don't know where those imprints and thought forms. I remember a lot of my galactic and multiversal history. And it hasn't all been lovely. It's just, I feel like I carried it in.
Yeah.
So am I making progress in shifting that?
Absolutely. Because what you are doing in this time frame is blending the understanding of linearity and non-linearity. That's why we feel it's the linearity that makes us feel it's life or death. It's success or failure. It's right or wrong. I'm whole or I'm damaged. It's the broader connection that teaches you the whole truth, not just the linear truth that is so physical to us, because indeed it does mean life or death in the physical body. But it's that broader experience that's like, no, all the galactic wars, all of the bad things that have happened here, life continues. And it will keep continuing until it fully integrates back into what it always was and always will be: love, the wholeness, life. And so that's what you're doing here. And it's why you're making progress with this, because that is the understanding that we're coming to now. There's the linear, yeah, but there's also this other thing. And we are starting to see it, hear it, feel it, know it more and more and more.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good one. Thank you for sharing that, Renee. That was really important for all of us to hear. Nice.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Renee. Much love. And also thank you, Jamie. Let's see. We have Kin or Queen. I have issues looping as well. Is it possible that I may need to clear my subconscious of old programs to help with looping? Would that help, or is there a better method?
Excellent. So, well, first I want to just address, this is just semantics. So not that this is exactly what you meant on the question, but just for everyone to hear. Fixing all of the subconscious programs, releasing all of the subconscious programs, all of that, just anything that makes us feel like, oh, I have to this has to be so big or perfect or anything like that, that it's really a matter of dealing with what's coming up, because life is going to continue to call you to this empowerment, this wholeness. It's the cycle of life. Linearity within the container of nonlinearity, integrating back into nonlinearity. So letting go of the looping or shifting the looping is a really important one, because it's indicating there's something that's coming up for release. Because if you have some thoughts going on in your mind and you're like, oh, I don't believe this. This is not where I want to be focused. So I'm going to focus where I want to focus. I'm going to focus on the positive, or I'm going to do something that will distract me in a positive way, like some journaling. And then you still find you can't focus. That is an indicator that something is coming up for release. Otherwise, with a little bit of effort, you would be able to refocus your thoughts. And so working on whatever it is that you're noticing coming up is where you want to go with that, because it's your body's way of saying, hey, this is very intense. So let's deal with it, because we're going to keep looping it since it's already in your consciousness until you can build that strength to be able to focus. So we always work with a little bit of effort to focus. And then if we can't, we know we need to go into some healing. And this is a big thing that crystalline soul healing works with. Is there's part of that Lyran template technology is dealing with how the mental flows into all of the different expressions that we are experiencing here on Earth. So it does a lot of subconscious healing that goes into deep layers that we may not be aware of. But you can also easily do some of this on your own as you're noticing what's coming up. Like, let's say you have something coming up where you keep thinking about how your boss said this to you, and the whole company acts just like that boss, for example. So, like, in general, that's how the company functions, with this anger and aggression or something like that. Well, as you're noticing that thought coming up, then look into it more deeply. Okay, if I'm feeling all of this, what are some of the things, what are some of the ways that that boss makes me feel? What are some of the ways that that company makes me feel? And then as you start, journaling that, writing some of those down, you're letting them come up into your awareness, the core of them, because they're just that indicator there of what's in your energy field. So once you're becoming aware of that, then you are able to surface that for healing. And actually, Ariane says, once it comes into your awareness, celebrate, because you've already started the healing process. But you can use energy healing, you can use the crystalline soul healing and light language transmissions, to or even just your soothing self-talk, getting out in nature. Use all of those different go-tos that you have to help shift some of that subconscious programming. But enjoy that process, because it's kind of a constant here in the linear realm of change.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much, Jamie. And also thank you, Ken, for your question. And Christine, can you please unmute yourself? Christine. Okay, so she didn't unmute. Let's see. A question from Linda. Could you please take a look to see how I might more easily and fully take on and complete the action and things I came here to do? I feel such love and excitement within me to bring my gifts to light, and yet taking steps to bring my gifts forward to those waiting. I've never had a problem manifesting before. Thank you so much.
Interesting. Okay. So they want to talk about ebb cycles. And especially if we're used to manifesting, we're used to being productive, things like that. Then when we get into these ebb cycles, when something isn't moving forward, it gets really uncomfortable. And we're like, what am I doing wrong? So the ebb cycles are just as important as the flow cycles. And so when you have those ebb cycles, there's a couple of things that need to happen. One, relaxing, surrendering, like Monsef and I were talking about earlier, being more patient, anything that can neutralize your energy field to let the new transform, and then you'll be ready for that flow cycle when that cycle comes. The other part of an ebb cycle is sometimes to go into a more creative state. So you're doing some of that foundational creation ready for the flow cycle. So maybe you need to do more writing, and then when things start to flow again, you've got all of that done, or do more work with other people, whatever's coming up, whatever's connected to your life, get more into the foundational creativity so that when the flow cycle comes, you're ready for that. So Linda, overall, relaxing into that ebb cycle is an important one. And I've been there. I can relate. Sometimes I'm like, well, if I just work harder, I'll get it. But sometimes it's just that you don't even realize that you're not even having that experience of like, I need to work harder. You don't even realize that you're resistant to that ebb cycle. And it's just a little shift of, I'm manifesting perfectly. This is the cycle that I'm in. So good one. Thanks, Linda.
Yeah,
nice. Is this Christine or Christina?
Christine, yes.
Christine.
Hi.
Hello.
So nice to meet you. And Asaf, thank you so much for having Jamie. The question that I wanted to bring up is it's energy in my body where I'm on the big island of Hawaii. And I'm not sure if it has to do with the volcano going off. It's been paused. But I have been personally walking around with my hands just clenched tight, like in fists. And it's not normal, or it's not normal for me to, and you were talking earlier about like the throat chakra and the hands being connected. And so I've been witnessing this for a couple of weeks, and I keep relaxing, surrendering, accept like all of the tricks that I usually do, but it's still here and present. And so I was just kind of hoping to get your perspective on it.
Yes. So the first thing that I saw when you were talking, and I didn't know where you were, I saw that there's a birthing process about to happen. Now, this might mean things in your life. It might mean things that are around you, like you were talking about the volcano, but there's a birthing process that's about to happen. And your body is in this state of knowing the unknown. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but you don't know. And so even the clenching is almost like, there's probably going to be some pain in the process, or there's a big unknown happening. There's going to be a big shift, but it's happening, and I can't, it's not in my control to stop it. So that's the energy that I'm feeling now. And I'm feeling this again, so much emotions on this. I love it. This is why Monsef also draws this heart-centered people. So I am feeling this so strongly in the whole head and top half of the body that there's this spaciousness that is occurring and birthing through you, with you, to you. That it's like this process of being so open that the potentials can fill is what you are experiencing now, that there's a birthing. So the tension is there, like, whoa, big change is coming. But what it feels like is this just beautiful openness that's like, Oh, I get it. All is well. Oh, I get it. Pure potential is here. Oh, I get it. It's not figuring it out. It's being it and embodying it and allowing it. Wow. Interesting. Questions or comments from that? Beautiful.
Thank you. I was also going to mention, like right now, all the whales are here and they're also giving birth.
Wow. Wow.
But thank you so much. Yeah.
And you live in a power place with powerful energy all around it.
So that's the other thing. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to stay here. I've been in Montana for like the last 20 years, but I'm here at the moment. But I find it interesting that you said that I live in a power place, because that's also been like where my prayers have been, like where I feel like I'm being directed to. Because I do think that the ley lines on the planet really is, I know for myself, it makes a big difference. Yeah. Even Sedona's.
Yeah, you can keep talking. They want you around water.
Okay.
They want you around more water. Big, more water.
Thank you. That was
in
very
fact,
beneficial.
The way they said it is Montana is dried up for you.
Oh, interesting. Even with all of the mountains and all of the snow, and
not that it's dried up. Yes, not that it's dried up.
It is for me. Yeah.
For you. Yes.
Yeah. Opening.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you, Christine. And also
thank you,
Jamye.
That was wonderful.
Beautiful. Thank you. And there's a feedback from Linda. Thank you. That makes sense. Such sense. And takes so much pressure off my being. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. And yeah, so Jamye, thank you very much for everything you shared with us today. It was really, really powerful call. I really loved every part of it. The discussion we had, the transmission, and also the support and answers you shared with our audience. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you for having me. Thank you to all of you that are here in the present and in the future. But thank you for the energy that Monsef, you're gathering here and that we are all creating here. These are such powerful times. We are the conduits that are bridging consciously the subtle and the physical. So I'm honored to be here with all of you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much again, Jamye. And also everyone, thank you for being here, for sharing with us this space and time. Thank you for the feedback, the questions. And again, you can sign up for the program that Jamye is offering to us. The Divine Human Being series on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Jamye, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Jamye, JAMYE. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube, video description, and the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And yeah, so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye for now.